This is an ASMR video. I'm just kidding. This is not an ASMR video, but this beautiful quartz crystal really, I feel, carries the frequency of what I'd like to speak about today. The white and the kind of nodules and imperfections of this kind of raw, unfiltered state, it really captures the essence of the message today. I'd like to speak about what I feel we're most deeply longing for. But before we move into this exploration, we've got an influx of new tribe members here on the channel. So if you are new and you're tuning in for the first time, or you've recently just started tuning into my videos, thank you for being here. It's beautiful to see this burgeoning field of awakening here on the channel and really on Earth, not just here, of course, but all over. This burgeoning field of awakening is truly creating tremendous shifts on Earth. It's such a miracle to behold what's happening. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear beyond the superficial play, something truly miraculous is happening on Earth, and it's quite a joy to witness that, to observe it, and to experience it. I'm really bad with promotion on this channel, but if you like the videos that I share, it helps other awakening souls find them. If you like, subscribe and comment. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, join us here. Join us here for some truth, for some love, for something real, perhaps in a sea and an ocean of fake. And that really segues me nicely into what I would like to talk about today, which is our innocence. Our innocence. So before we dive into this exploration, I'm actually going to invite you to just take a couple of breaths with me, closing your eyes or softening your gaze. Taking a nice deep inhale and exhaling to just soften and land in the body. Land in this now moment with me. Be fully here, be fully present. And let yourself directly experience what we're going to be discussing and exploring today. Because I'm going to use words to try to point to this truth. But first and foremost, what I'm speaking about today is a direct experience. And I'm really speaking to the truth of who you are, the truth of who I am, beyond any guards, beyond any defenses, beyond any masquerading, beyond any performing. There is something subtle, powerful, potent, palpable beyond all of those superficial layers within you that is longing for you to see it, honor it, embrace it, embody it as it. And that is your innocence, your unguarded innocence. That tender, vulnerable, raw, intimate, naked essence of who you are, that is so often obscured by conditioning, or that we so often choose to shrink or diminish in the world because it feels so incredibly vulnerable to live from and embody as this essence. But that ache you feel within you, that longing, that sense of something that is a deep impulse within you that superficial ways of being just can't satiate, that is your eternal innocence, the light of who you are, your sacred holy presence and essence, asking for you to return, to put down the guards and the armor, the defenses, the tactics, the performance, the masquerading, because that's also effortful. That's also much effort. It's a trying energy. When this essence that you are wants you to be, wants you to simply be and vibrate as the authentic light and essence that you are. And there's no trying from that energy. There's no performing as that energy. It just is. It's the aspect of you that sits beneath often layers of fear, conditioning, contraction, tension. It's that truly tender place within your heart. That place that you can sometimes experience fleetingly in a connection with someone that you deeply trust, in a moment where love meets love, in the form of a reflection of another person. It's in those tender moments when we actually listen to birdsong and we let our gaze soften and just observe the profound beauty of nature and the innocence of nature, the authentic expression of nature. It's in and expressed as, animals in their playfulness and in their unapologetic beingness. It's in children. This unguarded, agenda-free presence. This is what we are longing to return to. This is what we are longing for at a soul level. This is why there is an ache that can't be satiated by anything at the level of form, by anything that feels superficial, because this aspect of you is not shallow, it is not superficial. It is the deepest, truest aspect of who you are. And this world is not accommodating of this pure presence. It is not kind to this innocence. It lives, by and large, the modern world at odds with and in violation of, actually, this pure space within us. The states and events that are occurring on Earth feel deeply, deeply destructive, harmful, and cause great injury to this very, very tender place within us. That's why we guard. That's why we hide. That's why we cloak ourselves in conditioning and we put the guards up and we tense and we play games, because it just feels too potentially raw and painful to strip all of that stuff back and to just be as we are. In a world that does not honor beingness, when the soul of the world has been robbed of its innocence, when there have been so many violations to love and truth and dignity at a soul level, it just feels like too much of a cost, too high a price to unsheath ourselves and to be laid bare in the world again. There's too much to lose, there's too much to risk, there's too much potential pain to endure. There's too much disappointment that might come when we try to hope that this innocence is going to be met and honoured, and then it isn't honoured, and it isn't met, and it isn't seen. It's just too painful to this childlike innocence. And so we adopt an identity, a persona, some kind of rigid structure to form around this innocence as a protective mechanism. And we try to build lives as the personality structure that's guarding this innocence. And we try to seek in the world of form outside of ourselves ways that can somehow satiate this ache within us. There's got to be something, some substance, some person that can make this ache go away, that can finally quench this longing we have. But try as we might, nothing satiates this longing when we are just seeking in the external world for a solution. Because the solution is right here, and it is the most vulnerable stripping. It is the most vulnerable stripping to say that this light and innocence that I am, this love that I am, is the most precious thing. It's the most precious thing. It's the most precious thing within all beings. And it hurts me too much to guard it any longer. And so I'm going to drop everything else and just be. It feels so vulnerable, terrifying. Can feel like a death to the personality structure, to the ego, that we are essentially condemning ourselves to death. And yet, some aspect or some false expression of us dies, but the truth of who we are can finally be felt and is finally here. It's finally brought front and center when we let all that is false die. And there is such tremendous freedom in that. There is such tremendous freedom in that. To say that, yes, it can feel scary and painful to live and move from this space of innocence within me, because I've been hurt before, my heart's been broken, there has been injustice, inhumanity, horrors, and that's been so painful for this innocence to endure and to witness. It's just so painful, and yet there comes a point when it becomes too painful to not honor the innocence, because it's the truth of who we are. This pure presence is the truth of who we are, and it becomes too painful to try and live as anything or anyone else. So I invite you to just take a deep breath into your body and to just really allow yourself to perhaps just edge and inch a little bit closer to this truth that resides within you. This place deep within you that perhaps you regularly have contact with inwardly, but you rarely allow this to be felt and emanated in the world around you. Perhaps it's been a long time since you've allowed yourself to recognize that this presence is within you, that this level of preciousness, this innocence, this worthiness, this love is within you. Perhaps there have been many horrors, many injustices, much pain that you've endured that have formed like calluses on top of the heart space to harden and protect this place within you. Just for this moment, I'm going to invite you to breathe, to soften, and to allow yourself to just move a bit closer to this place and truth within you. Not with an agenda, not for anything or anyone else, just to come home within yourself, to finally satiate the longing within, to finally answer the call, to finally move closer to the deep peace that you seek and that perhaps you've been seeking out there, which can only be found when there is deep marriage and harmony with this truth within us. Nothing else will do the job. Nothing else. I'd like to read you a short excerpt that I've written from what I sense may be my first book, if I can mobilize myself to finish it. Let's just take a moment also to just admire the beauty of this notebook, which I purchased when I was in France. It's by Paper Blanks, if anyone is interested. Look, it's got clasps. And it's got a bookmark. I'm such a stationery geek. I absolutely love, I love quality and I love beauty, and I love it when it's expressed in these beautiful kind of spaces of notebooks and journals, and just feels very satisfying to me at a soul level. So this excerpt is what I've called the innocence of being, from what may or may not be my first book, The Altar of the Heart. So I'm going to invite you to once again breathe in nice and deep, and to just allow your heart to receive this. This was written from a space when this innocence that I'm speaking about and feeling strongly today was really, really present in my experience. Being is a state of belonging to the now moment. The heart longs for it is from this state that our true, unguarded innocence and presence arises. In the now moment, there is no agenda. There is simply what is. The heart does not discriminate one arising experience from another. It simply wishes to meet and embrace all that is arising with and from love. But this state of unguarded innocence, free from agenda or condition, can feel incredibly vulnerable, raw, and exposing. In a world that has largely forgotten the intrinsic value of purity, and in this instance, this pertains to undiluted truth and authenticity, instead favouring masks, facades, and egoic structures that smother the heart and soul, returning to the innocence of being can feel like an almighty and formidable feat. And yet without it, our hearts are tortured. We writhe in the agony that arises when we are severed from the virginal state of simply being with what's here. This is because the heart only knows truth. When we deny what arises in the present moment, the fullness of our expression, the sincerity of our words, the depth and breadth of feeling, we are denying truth. And the denial of truth is anguish to our eternal innocence. For our eternal and essential being is married to truth. When we deny what is, we are denying the truest part of ourselves. We close the door on love, on our heart's innate wisdom and our infinite capacity to love, and we take on a form that denies the dignity, majesty, and integrity of our essential being. This contemplation came to me today by the river. I was guided to a part of the river where I could hear the force and crash of the current descending down on its journey. Something in me needed that sound, and the energy in my heart stirred fiercely as I closed my eyes and let the thundering noise permeate my awareness. After a brief walk, I returned once more to this spot before leaving to go home. Immediately, my eyes were drawn to a pristine white stork standing and bathing in the gushing stream. The image moved me to tears in an instant. That's when my heart whispered to me the innocence of being. Animals and the natural kingdom in general may well be our most important teachers of this quality. Many empaths and highly sensitive, highly attuned people are drawn to animals and sometimes favouring them over humans. Why? What is it about animals that captures us? Their presence reawakens our hearts to the innocence of being. With animals, there is no agenda. They simply act in alignment with the needs, desires, and will that arises in the now. While this could be considered a more primitive state of consciousness, there is also a wisdom for us in this mind-dominated Homo sapien experience. This is an unfinished sentence. There is something for us in that organic unfolding. Observing animals reawakens our hearts to what we deeply feel, know, and miss, but can't often capture with words. Their marriage to the present moment, their unguarded, unapologetic embodiment of what is real, true, and essential for them in the moment, reminds us of who we are and how we embodied before we were inundated with conditioning, ideology, and closed our hearts to life. To rest in the innocence of being is to unshackle ourselves. It is a return, a homecoming. It is not about becoming something new, but rather unraveling and untangling ourselves from the insidious web of the false self, which is preoccupied with the past or forecasting about the future. After years, decades, lifetimes of contorting the truth and our own eternal presence to conform to some imagined standard, the return to innocence can feel like stripping ourselves bare and sinking in to the most cosmically clarifying, renewing bath imaginable. What must we give up in order to make this return? Our grudges, our betrayals, our ideas about right and wrong. We must lay humbly at the altar of our hearts the agendas and righteousness of the personality structure, our attachments, our conditions. If we are to make this return, we must release anything and everything that bars our devotion to and union with truth, love, and presence. The price we pay is our idea of who we thought we were and how we thought life should be. Our reward is freedom and the elation that comes from living as unconditional love embodied. When I look out at the world and I observe the knots and the binds that we're in as a humanity, what I see underneath it all is a deep longing to return to this pristine, innocent, pure state of being. It is this deep, deep ache to put the weight of all of the guards and the defenses down and to finally just be as we are, our pain, our passion, our longings, our desires, our most tender truths, just as they are, not trying to masquerade over them, not trying to contort them to fit an idea or standard, but just being and resting as we are. It is such an effortful thing to have to try to be something. And it feels like at this moment, at this critical juncture we find ourselves in, at this time, at the inception point of a new era and epoch, the invitation is for us to return to this unguarded, agenda-free state of innocence, to finally honor ourselves enough to let this presence and this innocence lead the way. Not for anything or anyone else, but to honor ourselves, to honor the dignity, the majesty, and the truth of our hearts and our souls. Thank you for being here on this channel. Thank you for receiving this. And I know that if you're on this channel and you are resonating with what I share, then you are also here to support the embodiment of this truth and the modeling of this truth to others as a different way for humanity, a way that is not fear-based, a way that is not effortful, a way that is not laced with agenda, laced with conditions, but simply honors the most clarifying, pure truth available to us, the truth of love, the truth of presence. Thank you for your presence today. It's been an honor to share this. This has been a transmission and a truth that I've really felt compelled to speak on, to attempt to put words to for some time. I will be sharing more about my personal awakening journey, which I've had some requests for. So I just want to say that I've seen those requests and that content is coming. Thank you for the invitation. And I so look forward to continuing to share with you, dialogue with you, embody with you, explore with you in the coming transmissions. Thank you and namaste.